Hello, everyone, and welcome to our fourth episode of the Market Intelligence CrowdStrike Coffee Chat live coaching series. My name is Marianne Antonelli, and I am the CrowdStrike campaign manager at TD SYNNEX Public Sector. Today's topic is navigating the IT landscape, a look into the Department of Defense's FY24 budget. And just as a reminder, this is an exclusive webinar for the CrowdStrike authorized resellers. But before we get started, let's go over a few housekeeping items. Your lines will be muted for the duration of the webinar. However, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A and chat field. This session will be recorded, and please be on the lookout for just right before the webinar ends for a very short survey. Tell us how we did so we can make adjustments for future coffee chat series. And if you have any technical questions, please message Felicia directly in the chat. Next slide, please. And now a brief introduction for today's featured barista. His name is Tuan Lee. He is a senior insights analyst for public sector intelligence at TD SYNNEX Public Sector. He has 15 years of federal sector research, project management, and consulting experience. His time at TD SYNNEX Public Sector has been focused on providing insights to DoD intelligence community IT buying trends. His work ethic, diverse skill sets, and professional experience in research, analytics, information technology, and public health have made a solid contribution to public and private sectors. Tuan earned his doctorate degree from Johns Hopkins University, Bloomberg School of Public Health. He currently resides in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area, and where he spends most of his quality time with his friends and family, exploring the cultural richness of the world has to offer. And now over to you, Tuan.
Well, thanks so much, Marianne, for the nice introduction. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'll be covering the Department of Defense today with a focus on cybersecurity that I think will speak to CrowdStrike's interest. I'll provide some insights for FY23 and touch on what we can expect to see in FY24 in terms of trends and priorities for the DoD agencies. Before we start, I want to briefly share what you see here, an overview of our Market Insights team's mission. So what you see here highlights what our team does daily. A little too soon, sorry, Felicia. The other one. Right, thank you. So what you see here is what we do every day. Our team uses our understanding of government budgets, trends, and mandates to identify opportunities through actionable, relevant, and timely insights and intelligence. So we track, purchasing IT purchasing habits of government, and then trends and employing predictive insights to pinpoint potential opportunities for our vendors and partners. So briefing like these are part of a larger library of assets that we produce on a regular basis. Next. So for this episode, we'll cover each topic you see here. We'll look at the DoD IT and cybersecurity budget and spending for the coming year. Then we'll look at priorities and challenges for the DoD for FY24. We'll then move to the contract landscape to see who and what DoD utilizes the most in the contracting world, as well as a view at their install base. In that section, we carved out vendors who provide cybersecurity as a keyword. Then we'll be followed up by Q&A at the end. Next. Cool. So for this episode, let me see. We'll look at the overall DoD FYIT, its cybersecurity budgets, and the projected spending for the coming year. So here is the IT budget landscape for the DoD and its sub-agencies. So each column you see, it shows the budget from FY22 to 2024. We see that there's a consistent increase in budget for IT. Although Congress has recently approved the request for FY24, the details are still being worked on by Congress. But for FY23, all of the DoD agencies were able to get the funding they requested. For FY24, the DoD has requested $12.7 billion, which is an increase of about 2% or $0.3 billion from FY23. But overall, the DoD sub-agencies are reducing its IT budget, except for the Navy. Here, the Navy is looking to enhance its capabilities, especially in response to the potential threats in the Indo-Pacific region. Next. Next slide, please. Cool, thanks. So for cyber-related expenditure, what you see here is the DoD's budget breakdown. I have included the numbers specifically for cybersecurity and cyberspace as they align closely with CrowdStrike's addressable market. The DoD allocate funds for what is known as its cyberspace budget, showing here in light blue. And in this context, cyberspace refers to the interconnected digital domain that encompasses computer networks, communication systems, and information technology infrastructure. This budget covers not just staffing for cybercom's defense and offense teams, but also covers some of the tools they need, like simulations of cyber threats, sensors, and cyber protection in the Pacific, and also niche cyber weapon capabilities for both Indo-Pacific and European theater, especially Ukraine. That said, the budget is specifically dedicated to the cybersecurity, shown here in dark green at the bottom. It is more directly applicable to CrowdStrike's area of expertise. The cybersecurity budget priorities reflect a shift toward shoring up defense against state entities like China. That's driving modernization effort across the force, but it's also shaping investment decisions around cybersecurity as well, which is why we've seen steady increases. But overall, the FY23 enacted numbers came in at about $500 million more than what was originally requested. Although it's worth noting that the increase was due to the cyberspace budget, not cybersecurity, which actually got less than what it requested for FY23. We'll have to wait until we get a formal FY24 budget to see what the actual dollars will be for FY24. But as you can see here, the total enacted cyber budget are trending in a positive direction from FY22 to FY23. Next. Okay, so now let's look at the priority and trends for the DoD in FY24. Next. So the condition in Ukraine remains volatile as we know it. Russia continues its aggression. We can expect to see the DoD to continue its military support to help Ukraine defend itself in FY24. Last year, the record inflation has weakened the DoD's buying power at 8.58%. If the inflation rate continues to rise above the historical average, the DoD's buying power will erode. Fortunately, with the current inflation rate improving at around, I guess the latest is about 3%, we can expect to see the IT investment spending power improving for the DoD. So hopefully this will continue as we head into FY24. And as tensions rise in the Indo-Pacific region, the DoD's planning and strategy for FY24 remains focused on China as a primary concern, emphasizing the need for the DoD to address significant investments that China has made in military cyber capabilities and its potential to engage in malicious cyber activities against the United States. So but despite this threat, the DoD's modernization priorities face financial constraints due to the persistent pressure from increasing national debt and mandatory spending commitments. This situation limits discretionary expenditure and poses challenges for funding that the DoD's modernization effort. Next. So artificial intelligence, we hear a lot, and certainly for the DoD, it remains a double-edged sword. It represents both a challenge and an opportunity. Adversaries advancing AI capabilities pose challenges in terms of potential threats and vulnerabilities. However, AI also presents opportunities for the DoD to enhance its own capabilities, ranging from improved decision-making processes to autonomous systems that augment military operations and increase efficiency. So balancing the challenges and leveraging the opportunities of AI will be crucial for the DoD's strategic advantage in the evolving landscape of modern warfare in the coming fiscal year. And to address the ever-evolving cyber threats from the adversaries like Russia, North Korea, and China, the DoD will prioritize the adoption of technologies that are designed and implemented with security as their foremost consideration. This includes implementing robust authentication mechanism, AI, ML measures, encryption protocols, intrusion detection systems, and continuous monitoring tools to detect and respond to emerging threats in real time. And to safeguard sensitive data and systems against potential threats posed by quantum computers, the Department of Defense will authorize increasing. So we were talking about the third bullet, I believe, right? So we were talking about the encryption levels and how DoD is going to be increasing this effort and transitioning to post-quantum cryptography. So this proactive approach, the DoD will be involving the strengthening of cryptographic algorithms and adopting advanced encryption techniques capable of withstanding attacks from quantum computers. China has been really putting a lot of investment into post-quantum computers. So there's a real threat that the DoD is addressing. Another top priority for the DoD for FY24 is the Thunderdome program, which is past the prototyping stage now. It will integrate technologies to support agency-wide interoperability and aligns with the Zero Trust framework. It's a priority to improve communication and cooperation among military branches, empowering the warfighter, especially at the edge. Its prototype was completed in early March and is expected to be in full production soon. Next. All right, so let's now focus on the cyber priorities and trends for the DoD. It's for the state agencies and the sub-agencies for FY23 and forward. Next. So I spoke earlier about the DoD cybersecurity budget. So here's a breakdown of some of the aligned items in that budget. These are the key items that will support the strengthening of DoD cybersecurity's line of efforts. Among these items, we can see that next-gen encryption takes a big chunk of the budget, and transitioning to ZT is a close second. These numbers give us some idea of the types of activities or areas that will set trends in FY24 regarding cybersecurity. And the DoD recently updated its cyber strategy for FY23, outlining key priorities and strengthen cybersecurity capabilities. The strategy focused on optimizing cyber forces and ensuring investments in cyberspace operation enablers, and implementing a comprehensive zero trust cybersecurity framework by the fiscal year 2027. And what is also coming down the pipe for FY24 is CMMC. I'm sure you're aware of this. It's anticipated to be integrated into DoD contracts starting in FY24 fiscal year. So this certification framework will play a significant role in ensuring the cybersecurity preparedness of defense contractors, as it sets specific requirements and standards for safeguarding sensitive information data. And here is what we see for DISA, the Fourth Estate, DoD. So in terms of the DISA, it's prioritizing the enhancement of its cybersecurity through data as a strategic asset. This strategy will ensure that all levels of users are protected, from the president down all the way to the users at the edge. For DHA, the Defense Health Agency priorities centers around building a modernized, integrated, and resilient health delivery system. Cybersecurity and secure networking will take center stage in safeguarding the health data of service members and beneficiaries. For the Defense Logistics Agency, they've been working on implementing digital transformation of its business process and enhancing its cyber security measures to meet the DoD Zero Trust framework. These include AI, ML, and automation to improve coordination of service and product delivery. So I think these priorities speak to CrowdStrike's potential to augment the modernization efforts of these agencies quite well. And so now we're looking at the Navy. High on the list of priorities for the Navy and Marine Corps is to improve cybersecurity capabilities of their afloat networks. They are focusing on enhancing capacities like electronic warfare, cyber, and info operations. This is critical to the Navy as it's facing growing threats from cyber attacks that highlight the need for continued investment in cybersecurity capabilities to defend against these threats, including those from foreign adversaries such as China and Russia. And so the Navy is shifting its IT development priorities towards cyber readiness and DevSecOps to fully implement Zero Trust. Recent efforts is seen with the DevSecOps platform. It's called Black Pearl. That is to certify pipelines that will produce securely coded products to protect its infrastructure. And the Navy is one of the many organizations that views automation as a critical component of implementing a zero trust security architecture and enhancing cybersecurity. The Navy is especially focused on integrating current capabilities and technologies to create a more automated and secure environment. So this includes leveraging cloud computing, artificial intelligence, machine learning to improve situational awareness and provide real-time threat intelligence to operators. This can include automating tasks like vulnerability scanning, patching, and threat hunting, as well as identify patterns and anomalies that could indicate an attack. Then the signed NDAA FY23 has authorized the DoD to establish an irregular warfare center to enhance the DoD's knowledge of irregular threats and collaboration with allies and partners. So in support of this mandate, the Navy will create a new job title and rating system specifically for personnel who specialize in cyber operations. such as the defending against cyber attacks, conducting offensive cyber operations, and analyzing cyber threats. This certainly is an acknowledgement of the increasing importance of cyber operations as a critical component of national security. Next. So for the Army has budgeted $14.4 billion towards cyber and IT spending for FY24. This included focusing on adopting cloud fully to provide more capabilities for the enterprise and the tactical edge. So through the EAMM initiative, the Army has been migrating numerous applications and systems to the cloud. And the Army also plans to spend $469 million for cloud transitioning and enhancing its digital infrastructure to enable data access. So specifically, $333 million will be going towards essential central tools and services like DevSecOps, digital modernization, cloud migration, and its enterprise cloud management agency support. The remaining amount will go towards improving the Army data platform API management and data catalogs to create an open data environment that enables better decision making. And then the Army is also focusing on AI for data-driven decision making and seeking industry help to better integrate and leverage AI for improved data security and warfighting capabilities. And next. So for the Air Force wants to strengthen its commitment to the JASSE2 initiative. They have recently created the Battle Network with the C3BM enterprise responsible for constructing digital infrastructure to connect with cloud-based command and control. Cybersecurity is a critical component here, and adherence to the zero trust requirement is one of its top priorities. And a core component of the Battle Network is the Air Force's ABMS. It is placing strong emphasis on aligning cybersecurity with network operations to strengthen the DoD's JASSE2 capabilities in contested environments. So for this effort, the Air Force is requesting about $500 million for FY24 and will climb to $815 million for FY25 with a specific goal of fielding tactical edge capabilities. Now, the Air Force will be releasing an RFI in early FY24 for an upgrade of its unified data library. It is asking for $187 million to support this enhancement, which will include combining commercial data with its Space Force data. So this is a six-fold increase, which is a significant request from last year's $29.5 million. So cybersecurity undoubtedly will be an integral component for this effort to comply with the zero trust requirements. Next. So now we'll take a look at the cyber landscape for the DoD in terms of cyber install base. Next. So here's the install base for the DoD. For this chart and subsequent slides, we analyze the RFQs coming out the main contract vehicles like SOUP, GSA, and others. This pie chart is a compilation of the number of RFQs and is what we use to then estimate the vendor installs. So that's what you're seeing here. The DoD top 10 cybersecurity installs as measured by RFQs. It's by no means a comprehensive procurement picture, but it does offer a valuable directional insight. So at the top, we see Beyond Trust with the biggest share of cybersecurity installs, followed by RSA and Symantec. The primary contract vehicle for these installs is SOUP 5, which is the DoD's choice of contract vehicles. Next. So here's the install base for the Army. From this pie chart on your right, we can see that a big share of products and services comes from Blue Coat with a big chunk of installs, followed by Acronis and Force Point. The primary contract vehicle for these installs is ITIS SW2. All right, so next. So for the Air Force, we see that Blue Coat also take a huge chunk here. And then, of course, the VMware CompTIA are the next two, but the contract vehicle here is the GSA and Super 5. So for the Navy, again, Symantec dominate, followed by Aventis and Aventi and Acronis. Of course, for the contract vehicles, we see that Super 5 and GSA are the contract vehicle of choice. All right, next. So, well, that wraps up what I have for the Department of Defense. So, Matthew, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Luan. Yeah, I just want to go ahead and thank everybody for attending today. For any market intelligence questions that pertain to the team, please reach out to marketintelligence@dlt.com. And for any sales-related questions, to please reach out to CrowdStrike@dlt.com. As a reminder, our next coffee chat iteration will be Thursday, August 10th at 11. This will be episode 5, Public Health for Fed. And again, as Marianne alluded to earlier, you can register for this at dlt.com/CrowdStrike. You all should have received a pop-up for the post-webinar survey. We would greatly appreciate if you were to take that, as we would love your feedback. And again, thanks so much for taking a break with us. Please be sure to keep a lookout in your email inboxes, as you should be receiving the Starbucks gift card. Again, thank you so much for attending, everybody.
All right, you guys, and if you have any questions at this time, we have a few more minutes. Actually, we're on time, but we can take a couple of questions if there are any questions that anybody wants to ask. Okay, I think I see something here. It says, I noticed in your IT budget chart a decline for the Army and the Air Force. Can you comment on why that is so?
Oh, that's a very important question. I think this question refers to the reduction of 11% for the Army and the 14% for the Air Force. Yeah, although the overall budget requests for the Air Force and the Army have actually increased for FY24, the reduction we've seen here are likely due to the Army and Air Force's shifting in budget allocations to align with the FY24 National Defense Strategy that calls for joint force readiness and attention to the current threat environment overseas by China and Russia. So for the Army, this calls for significant investment in building partner capacity and training efforts, increase in munitions support for Ukraine, increases in recruitment efforts, retention incentives, support for cost of living and housing increase. And I think for the Air Force, it has to do with integrated deterrence. That includes nuclear modernization as strategic deterrence against attacks on the U.S. Other shifting priorities include resilient architectures, and then establishing the Space Force's ability to operate in highly contested environments. And of course, other costs include investment in people, weapon system sustainment, and installation support, kind of similar to the Army. So as we can see that these are pretty important allocations to support the DoD and our nation's defense in the current threat environment.
Okay, I think we have one more question that we can take before we wrap it up. It says on one of the slides about DoD's cybersecurity requirements, you talk about the cyberspace operations. Can you provide some details on the enabling support that cyberspace operations will need?
Oh, yeah, Sarah, there are a few things that come to mind, like advanced threat intelligence, This includes systems and tools that gather and analyze intelligence regarding emergency cyber threats. And then there's cybersecurity software and hardware solutions, information sharing and collaboration platforms. These will be secure platforms and frameworks that facilitate the exchange of threat intelligence, best practices, and information among different organizations and stakeholders. Of course, the advanced analytics and artificial intelligence that leverage large-scale data analysis to deter patterns and anomalies, potential cyber threats. So it also includes enabling proactive measures and rapid decision-making for cyberspace operations. Having said that, the specific set of enablers can vary depending on the context, objectives, and requirements of cyberspace operations.
Thank you very much, Tuan. I think that wraps it up for us today. Thanks, everybody. And make sure you sign up for the next webinar for market intelligence coming up in August. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.